Life was hard, man. Life was hard. Like, my mom, we kind of grew up together. My mom had me at 15 years old, and we were very poor, very poor. She couldn't pay the hospital bills or nothing, and she needed someone to actually sign as my father. As I laid in the incubator, like, days went by, and she called him and basically said, "We got a child." And for whatever reason, that phone call never was heard again. That phone was hung up, and I was without a name. I never forget her telling me the story on how she called this guy, friend. She asked him, she said, "Would you do me a favor? Would you sign as my son's father?" This guy who was in the military, he had benefits and things, and the guy said, "Yes, I will sign as your father." And that guy's name is Ray Anthony Lewis, and that's how my name became to be Ray Anthony Lewis Jr. To this day, I met Ray Lewis one time. I shook his hand in 11th grade, and I told him, "Thank you for your name, and I promise to make your name great." When you think about domestic violence, it kind of triggered something because all of the dysfunction that I actually been through in my life. Mom had to run away. She was on her own for some years. Even when I got old enough to start helping her a little bit, like, it was just hard. She worked 3 jobs. She could never get over the hump. She was always in abusive relationships. It was just bad. It was just a real hard time in life, to where you sat back and you asked yourself, will you ever come out of this? To see my mom go through what she went through daily, but have to sacrifice, and listening to her tell me that I would do anything for my kids, that just gave me a totally different perspective on life. And I asked my mom for a deck of cards one day. She was bleeding from her eyes. This guy had just beat her up really bad. And I said, "Mom, I need a deck of cards." She was like, "I ain't getting no deck of cards. I don't gamble in my house." I was like, "Ma, I need this deck of cards." One Friday, I never forget, we went to my grandmother's house, and she wouldn't pull off her glasses. And we were all sitting around the barbecue, or somebody made her pull off her glasses. And if you could see the bruises and the torture of my mom's face, you can tell that she was hit repeatedly in the same spot over and over. And next 2 days, she walked in and she threw a deck of cards. I'll never forget hearing her crying. I just want to erase hearing her voice just cry and just scream and moan. And I grabbed this deck of cards and I smashed them on the ground. And I started doing these push-ups. I started doing these sit-ups until I passed out. I would take a 6 and do 6 push-ups, 8, Jack, Queen, King, I do 10. Ace, I do 25, Joker, I do 50. And I just went through them. Flip them, I'll shuffle them again. For whatever I did first, push-ups, I do sit-ups. Then I go back and do them. And I'd never forget, like, just feeling a certain type of pain. And I was like, no pain is greater than my mom's voice. Hearing my mom's cry. It was because my dad wasn't there. It's like horrible. And that was the first day of my journey of actually working towards making sure a man never put his hands on my mom again. I took all the pain of not having a father, and I took it on the football field. And to date, arguably, maybe the most dominant football player ever to live. Definitely one of the most physical, pissed off ones. And I think I played the perfect position to get it done. I just needed an outlet, so I started playing football in the yard. And this friend asked me to come over to Bryant Stadium at the time. And there was this team that played over there called the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. One day, one of the coaches, Head and Biscuit, was twins. And one of the coaches walked up and he said to me, he said, "Why you ain't playing football?" And I was like, "My mom ain't let me play football. That ain't happening." He was like, "Let me talk to her." And I was like, "The last thing I'm gonna let you do is talk to my mom. That's the last thing I'm gonna do." And he took me home to speak to my mom, and my mom was like, "I don't have $15. I cannot sign him up to play football. He's not playing. I do not have no help. He must be home. Pick his brothers and sisters up from the bus stop. There's no way this can happen. He's not playing." So the coach told me to excuse myself. So I excused myself and I left the house. And he came back on the porch and he was smiling. And he was like, "Your mom just said she gonna let you play football." And Biscuit said, "And I'm gonna pay the $15. And I was like, wow. And I think it was probably the happiest day of my life. I think honestly, like having reputation as most feared, most dominant man, it probably started for me like in childhood. I used to have incredible games, just incredible games, but I never heard my father's voice. I used to always dream for it, but I just never heard from it. My sophomore year, something just changed. I wanted to play it. I wanted to be the best at it, but I had an edge. I had a chip on my shoulder. And that chip was, I was so mad. Oh my goodness. I was so mad at my father that all of my rage, I took to the football field. And I wanted people to feel me. Like, I wanted them to know what it feels like to have another man just take your will. And I was trying to prove something. I was trying to prove to him that I was a man and I was gonna make it. And even if you're not here, I guarantee you when I finish this ride, you will remember me. If you're dealing with this pain of fatherlessness, these are the best 6 pieces of advice that I have. The first piece of advice is simple. If you don't have a father, find one. It's the most important key to your life. Some call them role models. Some call them uncles and brothers, whatever it is. You need a voice that's way greater than a yes man. You need a voice that's gonna validate when you right or you wrong. That's number one. Number two, you must be truthful with yourself. If he's living, then you have to wipe your hands clean if he don't want to be in your life. If he gone, you still got to wipe your hands clean. But regardless on what they did or did not do, this is crucial. You must love them in spite of. That's the rule. And 3, I think this is where the relationship as a man defines what number 3 is. And that is, there are no excuses. None. Even if daddy ain't there, there's no excuses. Yeah. And then I think 4 and 5 kind of run hand in hand. Be careful where you get your teaching from, because it will define your life. It will really define your life. Number 5, from my lessons of life that can really bless anybody that's out there. There's a father that's always waiting. He's always waiting. He's at the door every day, just knocking on your heart. I'm gonna tell you a real confession. Let him in. I don't care about religion. I'm talking about God. He can replace fatherlessness. He can't, I tell you what, there's nothing he can't do. Because even if he can't do it personally, he'll jump in somebody else. He jumped in many high school coaches for me. Many men, uncles, many men, to show me what a man really should be. And number 6 is It's as basic as it gets. End the cycle. The curse stops now. That's what I did. The cycle, 5 generations to this day. My son's 23, I'm 43, my father's 63, his father 83, his father 103. 5 generations of fatherless men. But in the cycle, it stopped at me. Yeah. It's like every step of the way, God was protecting me from something. And he protected me so much that the lesson I got from it, that if you dictate the level of the distraction of your pain, you dictate when you want to use it and when you don't want to use it. And I learned how to use pain. And that's why on the football field, all of the pain that I felt of not having a father, I took it on the football field and I said, now you got to deal with me. Now you got to deal with me. When you go into deep prayer, when you go into understanding, now I say thank you, Father. Because you knew, God knew what was right for me. And he knew that I would never have chased what I would have chased. I would be sitting here now with my resume if I hadn't to endure the pain that I went through. It ain't your pain. It is not your pain that you have to figure out how to deal with. It's your thought process of giving up that you have to think about. Because pain is going to be around the rest of our lives. But it's what you put in your mind to dictate what you do with your destiny.